The morning light slants through my kitchen window in this tiny apartment on the outskirts of Portland, casting long shadows across the breakfast nook I never asked for. I pour coffee into my chipped mug, the one with the tiny crack I refuse to replace because it's the last normal thing I own. The aroma should feel comforting, but today it just tastes like regret. I'm sorting through the paperbacks I'll haul to my shift at the used bookstore when my phone buzzes against the counter. Once. Twice. Mrs. Langford, my old neighbor from Willow Creek Estates, hasn't texted in 4 years. Not since everything imploded. The preview stops my breath cold. I can't believe what the board is doing. If you're still alive. My finger trembles as I tap. A video attachment loads. The thumbnail hits like a slap. The familiar stone facade of the Willow Creek Community Clubhouse, where I used to attend those mandatory neighborly potlucks. My graduation photo is propped on an easel right in front of the podium, ringed by white lilies like some twisted funeral arrangement. I press play. The camera pans across folding chairs filled with the same faces that once waved at me over perfect 2-inch lawns. 2 volunteers drape black fabric over the refreshment table while Mrs. Patricia Voss, everyone calls her Karen Voss behind her back, stands front and center in her pearl necklace and power blazer, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. We gather today to remember our beloved resident Sophia Reynolds, she intones, voice dripping with practiced sorrow, taken from us far too soon in that tragic accident abroad. Willow Creek Estates will never be the same. The phone slips from my fingers and clatters on the counter. I catch it before it hits the floor, a hysterical laugh bubbling up my throat. Accident abroad? I haven't left Oregon in 4 years. Not since that rainy night, they forced me to pack my SUV and drive away from the only house I ever owned. The memory slams back with brutal clarity. The emergency HOA board meeting in the clubhouse, mahogany table gleaming under fluorescent lights, spreadsheets showing $96,000 missing from the community reserve fund. Karen Voss's perfectly painted lips pressed into a thin line as she refused to meet my eyes. The weight of accusations thick as the cologne the treasurer wore. Her voice, all sugar and steel. For the good of the community, Sophia, we have no choice but to vote. Better to sacrifice one homeowner than lose the board's precious reputation. I drove south through the downpour, watching Willow Creek's manicured streets fade in my rearview. Found this quiet apartment, this bookstore job where nobody knows my name or the scarlet violator, letter the HOA mailed to every neighbor. Deleted my social media, changed my number, let myself disappear. But this is different. My hands shake as I remember trying to log into my old HOA portal last year. Error. Account suspended. Resident deceased. I'd gone digging then, horror growing with every public record. Found a forged death certificate with my name, signed by a doctor I never met. Cause, motorcycle accident in Italy, a country I've never visited. The video keeps playing. The camera wobbles, then steadies on Karen Voss directing the flower ladies with rehearsed grief, her diamond tennis bracelet flashing as she gestures. The same bracelet she wore the day she stood silent while they accused me of stealing the dues she'd siphoned. I freeze her face mid-sentence, study the satisfied curl of her lips, the calculated performance of mourning. My fingers find the manila folder hidden behind my cookbooks, the one I've been quietly filling with bank statements, HOA meeting minutes, screenshots of transfers. They didn't just find me in a bankruptcy. They didn't just force me out. They legally erased me so they could auction my house and pocket the equity. The morning sunlight suddenly feels ice cold on my skin as I stare at Karen's frozen smirk. Have you ever been erased by the people who swore to protect your neighborhood? What would you do if your own HOA board declared you dead while you were still breathing and paying taxes? I close the video and open my calendar. Time to make a few calls. Time to rise from the dead. Later that day, my laptop glows in the darkened apartment, harsh light cutting across the scattered papers on my desk. Public records fill every tab: death certificate, property lien notices, probate filings for deceased resident assets. My shoulders burn from hours hunched over the screen, but I can't stop. The wall calendar beside me shows dates circled in red. 3 months after I left, my HOA account suspended. 6 months, my address reassigned to estate. 1 year, death certificate filed. 18 months, my house quietly transferred to the Willow Creek Community Trust. My thumb hovers over my phone. Mrs. Langford's number stares back. She always brought over homemade cookies during the holidays and defended me when Karen tried to ticket my garden gnomes. Surely she'd want the truth. I hit call. 1 ring. 2. Hello. Her voice cracks with age. Mrs. Langford, it's Sophia. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, rejection burning hotter than any HOA fine ever did. A text pops up from my old book club friend. Everyone said you died years ago. There was even a memorial. I went. Attached photo loads. The whole block in black. My smiling photo on an easel draped in white lilies. Karen accepting condolences like a grieving widow. My stomach turns. They've done this before. Buried inconvenient homeowners under paperwork. The county recorder website loads painfully slow. I scroll until my throat closes. My 22% equity stake in the neighborhood common areas transferred to the HOA trust exactly 6 months after my death. Another tab shows my grandparents' inheritance trust that funded the down payment on my house. Ownership now managed by the board until beneficiary age 30 or death. I'm 37. 5 years of dividends gone. Numbers march across the screen. Quarterly payments, stock splits, $140,000 funneled straight into Karen's community improvement slush fund. Her new Mercedes in the clubhouse parking lot. Her daughter's destination wedding in Bali. My life savings are funding her perfect HOA queen existence while I ring up paperbacks for minimum wage. I collect every document and wait for morning. I will not sit quietly while they treat me like I never existed. The next morning, the civil attorney's office in Portland smells of leather and lemon polish. Papers spread across his mahogany desk. My passport with fresh stamps, tax returns showing steady income, pay stubs from the bookstore, bank statements proving I'm alive and functioning. This is extraordinary, he says, wire-rimmed glasses catching the light. Fraud, forgery, financial abuse, textbook. He looks up, eyes sharp with professional outrage. We'll file to revoke the death certificate immediately. The sun has set by the time I climb the stairs to my apartment. A white envelope waits on the welcome mat. No return address. Inside, heavy cream paper bordered in black. In loving memory of Sophia and Reynolds. Memorial service this Sunday, 10 a.m., Willow Creek Community Clubhouse. I hold the invitation against my black dress in front of the bedroom mirror. The reflection staring back is stronger, steadier, ready. My hands smooth the fabric as I picture Karen's face when I walk through those clubhouse doors. The briefcase by my bed holds every scrap of evidence, organized chronologically. Bank records proving the original embezzlement. Transfer documents showing how they stole my equity. Proof I never left the country, never owned a motorcycle, never died. I call my attorney. You've built an airtight case, he says, quiet satisfaction in his voice. The death certificate will be revoked. The asset transfers invalidated. They'll face serious consequences. My voice comes out stronger than I expected. I'm not just filing paperwork. I'm going to face them. The next morning in his office, he helps prepare additional documents, sticky notes marking every signature line. Maximum impact, he says, but everything completely legal. I practice my words in front of the mirror each night, voice growing confident, spine straighter. The scared homeowner they cast aside is transforming into something else entirely, a woman claiming her justice. Now, justice is leading me back to the place where silence once lived. The Willow Creek welcome sign appears through my windshield. Same perfect script, same perfectly trimmed hedges. The community clubhouse spire rises above the trees. The same bell tower where I once watched fireworks on the 4th of July. My hands tremble on the steering wheel despite my white-knuckled grip. Would you have the courage to walk into your own memorial service? To face the board that tried to erase you? What would you say to people mourning someone who isn't even dead? The parking lot is packed with the same luxury SUVs I used to see every day. I went straight to the hotel from the airport to rest and prepare for D-Day. The hotel bathroom mirror reflects a woman I barely recognize. My fingertips trace my face, searching for the old softness beneath the careful makeup. Behind me, the bed disappears under scattered documents, financial records, HOA violation logs, screenshots of every absurd fine they ever levied against me for lawn height infraction while they quietly stole my house. A local newspaper clipping catches my eye. Willow Creek Estates expands amenities. New pool funded by resident contributions. The photo shows Karen Voss cutting the ribbon, her daughter beaming beside her. The same diamond tennis bracelet glints in the flash. My phone buzzes, an Instagram notification. Another post of Karen living her best life, stepping out of her new Mercedes, shopping bags dangling. Caption: Retail therapy after hard board work too hard. Comments overflow with heart emojis from the same neighbors who once nodded politely while she fined me into exile. None of them questioning how a retired teacher affords that lifestyle. The stack of emails makes my stomach clench. Formal board discussions about Sophia's estate, legal documents transferring my equity, dividend statements paid to accounts I never controlled. Below them all, the Civic Leadership Award presented to Karen last month for exemplary community values. A knock at the hotel door stops my bitter laugh. I check the peephole, then unlock. Marcus Chin slips inside, his old HOA treasurer badge still clipped to his belt. 10 years on the board have added silver to his temples, but his eyes still hold that sharp intelligence. Jesus Christ, Sophia. He stands frozen, briefcase dangling. When you called, I thought someone was playing a sick joke. Good to see you too, Marcus. I gesture to the desk chair. Coffee. He shakes his head, still staring. For years, they told us you died in a motorcycle crash in Italy. There was a memorial and everything. Technically, there were two. I say, pouring anyway. Tomorrow makes 3. Marcus sets his briefcase down with careful precision. The latches click like gunshots. I brought what you asked for: internal audit records, transaction histories, everything from the quarter. When he pauses. When you left, I correct gently. The papers he spreads tell the story in cold numbers. Dues siphoned through shadow accounts. Karen's fingerprints all over the transfers she blamed on me. I'll testify, Marcus says suddenly. About the embezzlement, about all of it. The coffee scalds my throat. Memory flashes. 12-year-old me standing between Karen's daughter and the neighborhood bullies, small fists clenched. Nobody hurts my neighbors. My reflection in the mirror watches me set down the cup. The woman looking back looks composed, professional. Only I see the irony twisting her mouth. I touch the small gold brooch pinned to my lapel. Delicate leaves around a single pearl. Grandmother's voice echoes. Truth needs courage, sweet girl, more than love sometimes. Later that night, my journal on the nightstand holds weeks of preparation. Pages of scenarios mapped out, responses practiced, contingencies planned. Tear stains blur some ink. Not from grief. I finished grieving the neighborhood I thought I had. These tears fell while writing about what community should mean, the difference between rules and loyalty, justice more vital than reconciliation. My hands steady as I sort documents into the presentation folder. Clear plastic sleeves protect each piece. My own death certificate, financial transfers, trust paperwork, organized with surgical precision. D-Day has come. The black sheath dress hanging in the closet fits perfectly, projecting quiet authority. I stand before the mirror, practicing my opening lines. Not for drama, for impact. The folder balances in my palm like a shield. My phone rings. Lisa's name lights up, my lifeline back in Portland. I'm 5 minutes from starting my shift, she says. Just wanted to say I'm here if you need me. And Sophia, make them remember why they were afraid enough of you to do this. The recording device, tucked discreetly in my purse, tests perfectly. Everything prepared, everything in place. Just one final reconnaissance. I leave the hotel and head to the clubhouse. Willow Creek Community Clubhouse looks smaller than I remember. Shadows stretch across its brick facade in the Saturday evening light. I park across the street, watching final preparations through my windshield. White lilies arrive in florist vans, ribbon streamers proclaiming, in loving memory. The irony would be hilarious if it didn't make me sick. Karen Voss appears in the side doorway, elegant in her gray suit that probably cost more than my car. She directs the flower arrangements with the same precise gestures she used in every board meeting. Still the perfect president orchestrating the perfect memorial for the homeowner she helped erase. A black town car pulls up. The rest of the board steps out, greeting the honorary chaplain with practiced warmth. Karen's hand flutters to her throat, the tell when she's acting. Some things never change. My reflection in the car window studies me. Every hair in place, makeup subtle but flawless. The evidence folder slides into my leather briefcase with a satisfying click. My attorney's text confirms the legal documents are ready. The parking lot fills with expensive cars. Black-clad figures move between them like shadows. The board stands at the entrance, accepting condolences with dignified grief. Karen's husband arrives to help perfect the devastated community play. My watch reads 9:55 a.m. The leather steering wheel warms beneath my palms as I take one deep breath, then another. What's harder, being declared dead by the people who mowed your lawn every Saturday, or coming back to life in front of them? I was about to find out. Sunlight bathes the stone steps of the Willow Creek Community Clubhouse in gold. I pause at the corner, watching black-clad mourners drift through the heavy wooden doors. The spring breeze carries fragments of hushed conversations punctuated by the soft click of dress shoes on concrete. My heart pounds against my ribs as I cross the street. Each step feels deliberate, measured like walking through water. A woman in a charcoal suit glances my way, then does a startled double-take before hurrying inside. The fabric of my black dress whispers against my legs, the weight of my briefcase anchoring me to reality. The clubhouse bells begin their sonorous count to 10. 1, 2, 3, my fingers find grandmother's brooch at my collar, tracing the delicate silver filigree. 4, 5, 6, she wore the same pin the day she told me truth needs courage. 7, 8, 9, 10. The final toll fades as I reach the top step. Through the open doors, I glimpse the familiar crimson carpet, the polished folding chairs where I once sat through endless rule discussions. The scent of lilies wafts out, Karen's signature funeral flower. Inside, the chaplain's voice resonates off the walls. We gather today to remember Sophia Reynolds, whose adventurous spirit led her to distant shores where tragic fate claimed her far too soon. I slip through the vestibule. The memorial video plays on a screen beside the altar, photographs from my block parties, garden tours, even the HOA holiday party. Each image carefully selected to craft the story of a beloved resident lost too young. Karen dabs her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief while the treasurer stands stoic beside her, hand resting protectively on her shoulder. The vice president sits in the front row, clutching her husband's arm. Her designer black dress probably cost more than 3 months of my bookstore salary. The dividends from my stolen equity hard at work. Please rise, the chaplain intones, for a moment of silence to honor Sophia's memory. The congregation stands. The shuffling of feet fades into expectant quiet. I push both doors open. The sound echoes like a thunderclap through the hall. Light streams in around me, and for a moment I'm nothing but a silhouette in the doorway. Then I step forward. The first gasp comes from somewhere in the middle rows. Then another. A wave of recognition ripples through the gathering as heads turn. Mrs. Henderson from the knitting club drops her prayer book. The thud seems deafening in the suspended silence. I walk down the center aisle. My footsteps steady despite my hammering pulse. Whispers rustle like autumn leaves in a gust of wind. Is that her? How is this possible? My God. Karen's face drains of color. The treasurer's fingers clutch his handkerchief so tightly his knuckles turn white. The vice president grabs the back of the chair in front of her, swaying slightly. Her husband stares between her and me, confusion etching deeper lines around his mouth. The chaplain stumbles over his words. Perhaps we should. I reach the front and turn to face the crowd. My voice comes out clear and strong, carrying to the rafters. I heard I died. I'm here to correct the record. Opening my briefcase, I remove the death certificate. I hold it up so the morning light through the windows illuminates the official seal. According to this document, I died in a motorcycle accident in Italy. My lips curve in a small smile. Strange, since I've been working at a bookstore in Oregon this entire time. More papers emerge from my briefcase. My most recent pay stubs, tax returns, apartment lease, all dated well after my supposed death. Each document lands on the podium with a soft but decisive sound. But the most interesting paperwork shows what happened to my equity in Willow Creek after I died. Karen steps forward, hand outstretched. Sophia, darling, you're clearly unwell. Let's discuss this privately. The transfer documents show everything going to the HOA trust 6 months after my death certificate was filed. I meet the vice president's wide eyes. Along with the dividends, $140,000 worth, to be exact. That ivory silk at your daughter's wedding looked lovely, by the way. I saw the photos online. The treasurer sinks into a chair, pressing his handkerchief to his forehead. Someone call an ambulance. Our former resident needs help. I'm perfectly healthy, I say. Unlike my HOA account, which apparently died before I did, or my neighbor directory listing, which vanished around the same time, almost like someone was systematically erasing me. Karen's perfect mask finally cracks. You abandoned the community first. You threatened to destroy everything by asking about the missing dues. The dues you embezzled before framing me. I turn back to the crowd. Several people have phones raised, recording. Perfect. I didn't die. They declared me dead to steal my equity, and I can prove it. Karen lunges for the briefcase. Papers scatter across the podium like rectangular snowflakes. A collective gasp rises. I stand very still, watching documents flutter to the floor. The truth can't be contained now. Not with dozens of witnesses, not with phones capturing every moment. A small smile tugs at my lips as Karen realizes the same thing. She straightens her blazer, trying to reclaim dignity, but her hands shake. This is a community matter. Community? The word tastes bitter. Community doesn't forge death certificates. Community doesn't steal equity. Community doesn't try to erase someone's entire existence just to hide their own theft. I meet the eyes of the crowd, faces I've known since I moved in. Horror and understanding dawn in equal measure. What would you do if the people who swore to protect your home betrayed you so completely? Would you let them bury you in silence? Or would you rise from the dead to demand justice? The silence that follows feels holy in its weight. Papers scatter across the carpet like autumn leaves. My evidence dancing through shafts of morning light. A wave of motion ripples through the chairs as half the crowd surges toward the exits, heels clicking while others lean forward. Phones stay raised to capture the moment Karen loses control of her carefully constructed narrative. Our former resident is unwell, she says, voice cracking as she grips the podium. She needs help. The treasurer collapses into his chair, dabbing his eyes. Someone, please help her, he wails, but his performance falls flat. The crowd has already witnessed too much truth to be swayed by theatrics. Through the chaos, I catch the vice president tugging her husband toward a side door, her perfectly styled hair coming loose as she stumbles in her designer heels. The look in her eyes mirrors that night 4 years ago, fear of exposure trumping any neighborly bond. I drop to one knee, gathering the scattered documents with deliberate calm. My hands should shake, but they move with surgical precision. A lifetime of controlling my emotions serves me well now. I'm perfectly well. My voice carries through the hall without effort, filling the space that once welcomed me to every meeting. I hold up my passport, then a recent photograph. In fact, I'm very much alive. The residents who remained press closer, abandoning any pretense of proper decorum. Several phones record my every move. Let them. The truth deserves witnesses. They declare me dead to steal my equity. The death certificate says I died in Italy. Strange, since I've been working at a bookstore in Oregon this whole time. Karen lurches forward. Sweetheart, please, let's discuss this privately. Like we discussed the missing dues privately? The words taste sharp. Like we discussed how your embezzlement would ruin the community name? A collective gasp ripples through the hall. Near the back, Mr. Patterson, the longtime auditor, pales visibly. He would know exactly how the numbers were manipulated. The treasurer abandons his fainting pose. Genuine panic replaces manufactured distress. Patricia, do something. But Karen's authority dissolves as her board associates whisper among themselves. Years of carefully curated respect crumbling in real time. Several long-time residents huddle near the podium, their disapproving faces saying everything their polite HOA upbringing won't let them voice. Sophia, a wavering voice breaks through the tension. My old Sunday potluck neighbor steps forward, her lined face etched with concern. We mourned you. They told us we sent flowers to Italy. I know, Mrs. Reynolds, my voice softens. They lied to everyone. The heavy oak doors swing wide. My attorney enters, briefcase in hand, measured footsteps echoing through the chaos. Right on schedule. The crowd parts before him like the Red Sea. I have here, he announces, lifting a thick manila envelope, a motion to revoke the fraudulent death certificate. Additionally, we're filing criminal charges for identity theft, financial fraud, and misappropriation of assets. Karen freezes halfway to the exit. You can't prove anything. I meet her gaze. The trust that funded my down payment. The equity transferred after my death. The dividends you've collected. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? You abandoned the community first. Karen's voice rises shrilly. When you threatened to expose the missing dues, I cut her off. The embezzlement you pinned on me. My voice remains steady, but grandmother's brooch burns against my collarbone. I didn't abandon anyone. I was forced out for questioning the corruption. An older resident rises, his granite face carved with decades of moral certainty. Patricia Voss, what have you done? Karen's shoulders slump. The treasurer sinks deeper into his chair. All pretense abandoned. And the vice president, who I once protected from neighborhood gossip, backs away like I'm a monster she pretended died in a foreign land. My attorney distributes copies of our legal filing to the stunned board leadership. I gather my remaining documents, tucking them into my briefcase with measured precision. The time for exposure has passed. Now, justice will take its course through proper channels. I turn to face the board one last time. You didn't just find me. You tried to erase me completely. The words emerge not in anger, but as simple truth. Neighborhood may be where wounds start, but truth is where healing begins. Pivoting toward the door, I feel the weight of years of block parties, holiday lights, and enforced lawn standards lifting from my shoulders. The morning sunlight streams through the windows, painting the carpet in jewel tones. Beauty emerging from shadow. Sophia. The cry rings out as I reach the threshold. We're glad you're alive. I don't turn to see who spoke. Their words float in the air like a benediction as I step into the sunlight. My attorney is a solid presence beside me. Already, I can hear phones chiming with notifications as video of the confrontation spreads through neighborhood group chats. Truth expanding in ever-widening circles. My heels click against weathered stone steps as the spring breeze catches my hair. The same wind that once carried me into exile now lifts me towards something new. The questions that haunted my solitary nights have transformed. What rises from the ashes of a neighborhood betrayal? Justice or bitterness? When is forgiveness less healing than a clean break? What blossoms in the space where forced community once bound? The answers will come. But for now, my truth stands in the morning light, undimmed by any shadow. Sometimes the dead do rise, and sometimes resurrection requires leaving the tomb empty behind you. And when you walk away from the grave, sometimes you find yourself in a new kind of sanctuary. 6 months have passed, and I've settled back into my usual life, alive both physically and mentally. The morning sunlight streams through the tall windows of my newly reclaimed house on Willow Creek Lane, painting golden stripes across the same leather-bound books I once sold for survival. I pause between the shelves I built myself, running my fingers along a first edition Hemingway. The gentle chime of the doorbell draws my attention to the front where a delivery man stands with a thick manila envelope. Signature required, Miss Reynolds. The words still catch in my throat sometimes. 6 months ago, I was legally dead. Now my name rings out in broad daylight, acknowledged. Real. Alive. I sign for the package and carry it to my office in the back. The morning quiet settles around me as I slice open the envelope. Black and white newsprint spills onto my desk. Another article about the Willow Creek scandal. Karen Voss's face stares up from the page, tight-lipped and gray, as she exits the courthouse. The headline reads, Homeowners Association under investigation. Identity fraud scheme exposed. Behind my desk, 3 frames catch the light. The first holds my revoked death certificate struck through with bold red ink. The second displays settlement papers returning my equity with interest. The third, smallest but most precious, cradles a simple brass plaque. Willow Creek Residents Truth Fund. My phone buzzes. A text from Mrs. Langford. Just saw Patricia's sentencing date is set. You okay? I tap back. Better than okay. The community center called yesterday, asking me to lead another workshop on homeowner rights for seniors. Last month's session brought tears to my eyes. For different people stood up to share stories of HOA boards trying to strip away their autonomy through forged liens and false claims of abandonment. You gave us courage, one woman whispered afterward, squeezing my hand. If you could stand up in that clubhouse and reclaim your life, maybe we can too. My journal sits open on the desk. Today's entry half finished. The pages chronicle my journey from that first shocking video of my memorial service to this moment of hard-won peace. Letters from strangers who face their own HOA battles fill a drawer beneath. Each one a reminder that truth creates ripples we can't predict. The bell chimes again. I look up to see Mrs. Langford in the doorway, her silver hair caught in morning light. 6 months ago, she thought I was dead. Now she brings fresh scones every Thursday. Each visit an attempt to rebuild what broke. I keep thinking about that day, she says, setting down a paper bag that smells of butter and cinnamon. When you walked into that clubhouse, I really thought you were gone, Sophia. We all did. I know. The words come easier now without the sharp edges of betrayal. That was the point. Marcus arrives an hour later, laptop tucked under his arm. He's been helping modernize the new resident directory system. Another bridge slowly rebuilding. The neighborhood constellation has shifted. Some ties severed, others strengthened, new ones forged in unexpected places. My small circle of allies has become more than neighbors. We share meals, secrets, celebrations, community chosen rather than enforced. The afternoon mail brings official notice of the final settlement. I've already decided where part of it will go. A legal defense fund for homeowners fighting abusive boards. The Truth Seekers Grant. My grandmother would have liked that. I pour my afternoon coffee into the same chipped mug I used the morning everything changed. The familiar aroma wraps around me, but the trembling hands that once held it have steadied. My phone buzzes with good news now. Workshop confirmations, rare book acquisitions, messages from the growing network of people working to strengthen HOA oversight laws. The brooch that once belonged to my grandmother gleams in its shadow box on the wall, words etched beneath in simple script. Truth needs courage. Neighbors often ask about it and about the framed documents beside it. I tell them the story, not because I need to, but because truth creates light for others to follow. When the house quiets, I drive to the small cemetery where my grandmother rests. Wind rustles through old oaks as I lay fresh flowers against cool stone. You taught me that community is about love, not rules, I whisper. The words float away on spring air, carrying no weight of regret. I haven't tried to reconcile with Karen or the old board. Some bridges once burned should stay ash. Sunset paints the sky in shades of amber as I walk back to my car. My shadow stretches long and unbroken across the grass. Present. Solid. Undeniable. The woman who once hid in a Portland apartment trying to disappear has become someone who helps others become visible. Sometimes you have to die in their world to come back in your own truth. Not all betrayal deserves forgiveness. Some just deserves exposure, like photograph paper in a dark room. Images emerging from shadow into clarity. The truth about neighborhoods is that they can be rebuilt, reformed, chosen. Rules may determine where your story starts, but courage determines where it leads. What would you burn to protect your home? What truth would you speak even if your voice shook? How many times would you resurrect yourself until the world saw you whole and undiminished, standing in your own light? I start my car, the engine purrs, familiar and grounding. Tomorrow brings another workshop. More stories to witness. More light to shine into shadowed places. Some people call it brave, this new life I've built. But bravery implies choice. And truth once seen leaves no other path. You can only be erased if you allow the false story to stand. My name is Sophia Reynolds. I died on paper, but lived in truth. And that has made all the difference.